One, and hello everyone. I hope you are joining us here wherever you might be on Twitter, whether that's Twitch or YouTube or joining us on the OMI Discord. Hi, I'm Ivo Haining, and Jesse. Hi.
Hello, always a pleasure. Okay, so welcome to our very first demo night. We are beyond excited to share with you what we've been working on at OMI. Tonight we're going to be discussing file formats, avatars, communication layers, and other various alternatives to traditional approaches to standards and protocols, things that are currently being developed all around the world by creators from many different disciplines that have been seeking and have found collaborators in order to build those bridges that we need between worlds, platforms, and experiences. When OMI first came together, we set out to define some of our top level objectives. And what we found were 5 core values. First of which is that we collaborate, driven by research, privacy, and accessibility to make the metaverse more human. A lot to unpack there. That's why it's number 1. Next, we work incrementally, iteratively, and with intent, right? Not just checking boxes. We want to make sure that our work is always evolving and expanding. Third is that we are creating a cooperative and sustainable culture of innovation, right? It's about creating something that's bigger than ourselves, that we can keep going, that goes beyond just the flash in the pan or something that sounds nice when Metaverse hits it big. Fourth is that we empower the people who are making the Metaverse, something we talk about a lot, right? It's not just take. And the fifth is that we must cultivate resiliency, right? We don't want to be a flash in the pan. And to do so, we champion diversity and freedom of choice. So tonight, in the spirit of experimentation, working with Jin, we actually put together a little POAP or POPE. It's a proof of attendance protocol token. We'll be sharing out some details a little bit later during the event. I believe we made about 50 of them, and you'll be able to claim them throughout the day. So welcome, and we're excited. I believe I get to introduce, we're going to have Jin be our very first speaker. And I'll pass it back to you, Eva. Thank you.
Thank you. And I hope you're hearing us everywhere you are today. And thank you, Jesse. And to my other co-chair, who I'm just going to bring in here so you can see him hard at work, Robert. We're going to come to Robert soon. And Jesse, we're going to bring you back into the show before the end of the hour. So thank you for joining us. For those of you who are new to Open Metaverse Interoperability and what we do and who we are, this is our first open event. This is our first public event, but you can always participate on Discord, on our GitHub. Certainly you can reach out to us on Twitter, on YouTube, on Twitch, and you're absolutely welcome to participate. We have weekly meetings. We have lots of different interesting working groups working on avatars, identity, addressability, working on not just the sort of standards and protocols you might expect, but also some of the more creative experiments like the Pope that was described earlier here. So if you want to participate in any of these things tonight, you can absolutely jump in like DJ Celeste did, like others are doing here in our Twitch or on YouTube. And yes, we will absolutely make these things recorded and available, not just on our YouTube, but elsewhere through omigroup.org. Let's see if I can get that right. omigroup.org. All right. So thank you for joining us. We have 5 great demos coming up tonight, and then we'll have some time for Q&A. Absolutely, these kinds of questions about participation tokens and things we will try to get to. But honestly, a lot of what we're doing tonight is documentation about some of the early experiments we're doing. Now, that includes a pretty wide variety of experiments. And so you're going to see, first up, one of our colleagues in OMI, Jin, is going to be describing projects around avatar interoperability. Now, from there, we're going to be exploring a lot of other themes, including world building and gameplay in WebXR. We're going to explore different topics around interoperability and events and ways that we can support those down the line. But honestly, this is a participatory effort. We want to hear your questions, and you can always send those in through the Twitch chat so that we can bring them into the show today. So again, I'm Evo. Welcome, and thank you for joining us. I'm going to be bringing in Jin now. And Jin, I hope you are ready for us. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you and bring you into this show. So hi, let's see.
Hello.
Hi, great to hear you. Jin, would you tell us just a little bit about who you are and how you came to be a part of Open Metaverse Interoperability?
Sure. Actually, I got a slide on that if I can screen share.
Absolutely. Hop it on in.
Let me get this. Alrighty. Cool. So, hi. I'm Jen and DankVR on Twitter. And so a little bit of background about me. I've always had an interest in decentralized tech and open source. I've been full-time in VR since 2013 when the Oculus Kickstarter came out. I've been in crypto as well since the early 2010s because I'm unironically in it for the tech. I started exploring NFTs and with it a devlog in 2017 where I publish all my research. And I love to do hands-on research, learn to build and build to learn. So I'm active in dozens of virtual worlds, and I'm always thinking about how can they be more freedom and less friction in the ecosystem. And this topic, the vision for it is, how can we bring our avatars with us across virtual worlds, have more ownership over our digital identities, and spread these ideas through art and culture? And also prevent something where, it just becomes a corporate theme park. In my research, I discovered this avatar format that was mainly used in Japan called VRM. And I noticed that it had a lot of interoperability with a lot of different programs, particularly VTubing programs, which that's how I stumbled upon it. And so most of the apps when I discovered it were, Japanese apps and community. And I mean, they are like the second biggest community in VR. So no surprise in a way. And that's where VTubing really kind of came about as well. But I noticed, it was based on open file format, Gltf 2.0. So I was like, wow, what else comes with it? And as I was learning, I discovered like VTuber Twitter, YouTube, which is pretty meta in a way because you have like these VTubers teaching you about VTubing and how to make your own like avatar. And also it like spawned a whole cottage industry of makers creating accessories and avatars for them and people earning money. And I learned that this is important when it comes to interoperability. Like you need to have closed value loops for these things to gain adoption, for creatives to spend more time making cool stuff. And to keep it open, you need to find ways to have it. And, there's there's a whole like economy for these avatars that have interoperability across all these programs. And when you export out of like the most popular program for creating these, Vroid Studio, you can add in basically attribution information within the file itself. So name, author, reference version, and then terms of use. And they all get encoded right at the like head of the VRM file, which you can open up in a text editor and see. And I thought that was really cool because it's all kind of packed into the file. So when you bring your avatar across with you to different programs, they can read that. And, I think that kind of attribution is important for building like this ecosystem. And I also look at, well, how much traction does this have? And well, since I've been researching it, I started in 2019. It's really grown a lot to where now over 1 million avatars have been born in Vroid. And one really cool technique that here I'm showing an example of is permissionless innovation, in which there's there's a creator who basically made a mod for Craftopia game in which they managed to bring their VRM avatar into the game, and then they published it on GitHub, and it became so popular on Twitter and everything, everyone wanting to bring their avatars into the game, that this studio later hired that person to implement official support into the game. And I thought that was really inspirational because, you know, if you want to do something, just do it. And if people think it's cool, then it can become, you know, a whole thing. And so this is just kind of one success story of that. And so I made my own avatar, made my own wearables, and started to bring it across virtual worlds. And then sharing that on Twitter and social media, and talking about interoperability and the desire to bring my avatar with me across virtual worlds. And it really resonates, especially in the crypto community, because they really, you know, value the concept of ownership, and they're really against vendor lock-in. And so let me see if I could go to the next slide here. I tried it on different avatars, not just Vroid Studio, so crypto voxels. But I learned that, you know, it can be done, but there was a lot of manual steps. I had to manually download every wearable for my avatar. I had to manually color it. I had to manually position them, basically remake the whole avatar from parts. And so it was really hard to gain any traction for that path. And then I tried something else in which it was a mix and match of Vroid and CryptoVoxel's wearables. And I thought that was really interesting because one is kind of crypto native and the other isn't. Also, because of the art, it's a really cool juxtaposition to see this kind of voxel art next to 3D art. And I just thought, like, if there is a multiverse economy, you know, like, what would it look like if, you know, CryptoVoxel's wearables were in demand in another virtual world? And, you know, just showing glimpses of that possibility and just kind of thinking like a virtual producer, planting seeds in people's minds about a multiverse future. And so, but how do we deal with a, you know, a combination of NFTs and non-NFTs? Because, you know, when you bring it into a virtual world like VRChat, for instance, I mean, it's all baked into the model. You can't really inspect a avatar and see like, oh, like, damn, you got that kind of that shirt or that hat's from Cloma. Like, there's no attribution. There's no like way to inspect individual items that a avatar is wearing. So that's just the current state of things. Webaverse is currently doing something different in which, I mean, the whole world is made out of NFTs, so you can inspect any object. And I think that's where things are going to be going in the future, in which you kind of have like this wiki or Pokédex vision in which you can look at anything and inspect like who made it, who owns it, or like what file type is it, like just anything about it. And I think that can help really deal with you know, the just mashup of different formats. And, you know, when it comes to adoption, I look for trends that move in the direction of open metaverse. Maybe sometimes just like the narrative of it. Meebitz is a project from Larva Labs. They made CryptoPunks, one of the most iconic NFTs, the oldest as well. And Meebitz were a really interesting drop in that they kind of invented the NFT to NFT airdrop in a way, because Well, first off, what are NFTs and why does this matter? First, like they're talking about, dropping avatars that you can bring across with you into virtual worlds on thousands of really well connected and passionate people. And so, like, boom, 5,000 something people now have these Meebitz, and they blew up on Twitter as well. I just kind of want to give a quick demo of what an NFT is in a way first. So, like, if you look at an image on the internet, you kind of see like, oh, it's just whatever. But like, who made it? There's no way to like. Digital art has been really difficult for artists to make money on because it's so easy to copy stuff. With NFTs, you can verify the provenance of something, and I'll just quickly go through like what that looks like. So if I want to see like who owns this or whatnot, when it comes to any item, it doesn't matter if it's a Meebit, a image, a GLB, an MP3, whatever. It's basically like, how can you verify that Ethereum is basically like a public good, and you can check something like Etherscan and then see like, oh, I see it's this address, and then you can check out the transaction that they bought it with, and it just kind of gives you visibility into like the back end, a kind of a shared database that is decentralized, kind of like as a public good. So they airdrop these Meebits on owners of autoglyphs and punks, which are, these people are kind of OGs of the community. And now they have these avatars, and they started to get a lot of, traction, and I guess the just in terms of money and hype, just the vision of bringing them across. I mean, I'm not really too into the aesthetic myself. I think they're kind of weird looking, but whatever. It's about I think the vision is the same no matter the art. People like these things, and they love the vision too. And so that's a meme that I'm going to latch on to and use it to promote open file formats and standards. So I got some skin in the game. And what it looks like is you can basically go to your page once you get one, and then you prove your ownership by signing a transaction. And then it downloads a cookie in which you can download the files for that avatar. And it only came as a Vox file in T-pose and just whatever pose is. So there was no like avatar format. It wasn't even rigged. Very primitive. So as soon as it came out, I wrote a guide, and the manual method was, you had to download like 3 different dependencies, and it was like 12 steps in order to get a VRM. But after doing all that, I was able to achieve some pretty dank results. And so I shared this video. It got a lot of views, and so I brought it into Webiverse, and here I am like riding around a dragon, and Craftopia as well, and Vrast, which is like this fighting game, fighting this crypto avatar, and people loved it.
Jin, this is so exciting. And I want to take a quick question or two from the audience, because we've had some really great ones come in. And one in particular that people were asking about is whether VRM is open source, or how that fits within the sort of open source metaverse.
Yeah, it is. VRM is royalty-free, open source. There's a standard implementation in Unity for import and export, but also Blender. It's based on GLTF 2.0. It's basically like, GLTF 2.0 with some extras just for humanoid avatars. But basically, it's you get so much out of the box, like visemes for mouth movements, blend shapes like face emotes, hair physics, like everything you'd expect, like VRChat level quality avatars, but everywhere.
We are getting a ton of great questions, and we're going to save some of those for the rest of the show. We're going to take some questions at the very end after all of our demos are up. But Jen, thank you so much for giving us some great ideas to start with. Was there anything else you wanted to show us from this batch of experiments?
Yeah, I just had a few more slides.
Yeah, hop on in.
So one thing I learned, and maybe just kind of like breaking delusions of the whole like NFT thing, like bringing it into another virtual world, nobody really cares. We went clubbing with Meebitz, and the rarest Meebit. This one is worth like so much money. You could buy an island if you wanted to, but doesn't really matter. But some people noticed, and Meebitz DAO thought it was the coolest stuff. And what they did is like they sponsored a bounty for essentially creating a automated streamlined method for converting the TPOS Vox file into a VRM. So we could now automate the entire process, remove all the dependencies. It's a Blender script, and they even came out with a Docker container. So it just goes to show that just like, it may seem silly, but it really does spread adoption. And it's now happening with other NFT communities, Bored Apes. They come with commercial rights, which has been huge, and they grew really fast. And now all the Bored Ape owners are getting VRM avatars too. That's 30,000 VRM avatars. And so through this research, several platforms have implemented VRM. Several more are interested or currently, they have a work in progress. 10,000 or so are really hype on it. And there's more coming soon. And I've got some other stuff. My future plans are getting more into wearables, like how they can be composable, and just really through art and culture, spreading ideas through virtual worlds with avatars. And there's some other NFT projects that I'm planning to. Also, Red Pill on VRM. So that's it.
It's really exciting. And I was wondering, just to give us a little more context on, we mentioned at the beginning of the hour about this particular, now, how would you say, do you say Pope, by the way, or how do you, POAP? Okay, so would you describe what a POAP is for those who are not super familiar with this type of sort of, to me, it's like a laptop sticker was at a hackathon 10, 20 years ago.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
It is kind of like the stickers of, digital life in a way, like what people get at conferences and hackathons. It's essentially, it stands for Proof of Attendance Protocol. And so they give these things at virtual and physical events, and you can collect them. But, the idea is I'm really interested not just in NFTs that are kind of like financially driven, but kind of mean something like you did something, that...
Mm-hmm. It's a proof of experience. It's like having that memory, but also like a photo that you can keep in your catalog long term. And you've been so fantastic as a collaborator, Jen, as a story weaver, and as someone thinking about both the big picture and how this fits together for world builders and for storytellers and creators. And I just want to thank you for XR Devlog just alone, but also for all of these experiments. I think you're doing fantastic work.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
It's great to see you here. I'm going to go ahead and pull you out, but we're going to bring you back in at the end of the show. And for those of you who are asking about the POAP on Twitch, you can find out a little bit more information about that. This is an early experiment, and we like to experiment and try lots of different things at OMI. So as we do, we are constantly trying new things. And these live events and live casts are a part of that experimentation, along with our Discord channel and our Git. So you're absolutely welcome to participate. And if you have ideas for other partnerships and events and things we should be trying together, hit us up at Open Metaverse. And you can really do that, wherever you are on whatever platform you prefer. So I'm going to be bringing in our next speaker's video, but first let me bring her in by voice. Dulce, I think we
Hello.
should be able to hear you now. Yes, yes, yes.
Hi.
Hi. Great to
How are
hear
you?
you.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here. I'm bringing in your video now, and we're going to make that large screen. And so, those of you who are Metaverse OGs may have met Dulce in Second Life, like I did many, many years ago. And I was lucky to see a WebXR tutorial that you gave at Mozilla maybe 3, 4 years ago. I just found the
Yes.
video from that.
Oh my gosh.
I know, right? And you've been such a fantastic teacher as well as a producer and creator. So I'm
Thank
looking
you.
forward to what you're sharing with us tonight. Do you want to preference our video?
Well, I basically threw this video together as just an explainer of what Space is and the services that we offer and what our intention is behind this platform and what we want people to use Emmer's spaces for and how they are interoperable and on a federated network. And we are a small team and we're looking to collaborate and to partner and for sponsorship and investment. So it's basically, an explainer video of what we do.
Excellent. I'm
Yeah.
going to hit play. Let's go.
Okay. Thank you.
My name is Dulce Baerga. I'm a founding member of the Space immersive web platform. I work closely with my co-founders, William Murphy and Kim Nevelstein, to provide decentralized metaversal tools to artists, technicians, and companies looking to provide event spaces for their friends, families, and followers and customer base, while also having agency over their own domain and their own web presence. Space is looking to break the metaversal funnel that is currently happening from large corporations who are looking to dominate the metaversal spaces. The metaverse should not be dominated by one company. The metaverse should be a collective of multiple metaversal spaces that are tied through a network, sort of a superhighway, that allow different users and different companies to travel this highway and have these different experiences, while also keeping their inventory, keeping their own personal identity intact, and being able to carry that identity across different hub spaces or even immersive websites. All Emmer's hub spaces are on the ActivityPub Federated network and are all interconnected with each other, which gives us the ability to provide a global chat, a local private chat, as well as an inventory and avatar selection that can follow you from hub's room to hub's room. We are also working to build out even deeper web connections that are not just hub space, but that have immersive aspects to them that are also connected onto the federated network that allow us to pick up objects and inventory across all web pages that are on the ActivityPub Federated network. We created 3 different chess-themed rooms. One is our Vaporwave chess room, our Alice-inspired chess room, and our Shaolin chess room. Our Shaolin chess room is going to be the future of our chess boxing league, which we are now working to build out. We're going to add a chess boxing dojo into the chess boxing room and allow users to play a game of chess. And every time they either win a piece or gain a piece, they have to stop and actually engage in a physical chess boxing game. Emmerspace also provides alternatives to artists who want to perform and connect with their followers at a distance. We created a performance piece space, event space, for the LA Art Show for an artist by the name of Tiffany Trenda and her art performance called The Unseen. We brought her in as a video avatar where she can interact and engage with different users of the platform at different times during the day. Emerspace is currently looking for sponsorship investment, or clients looking to provide alternatives for their customer base. If you are interested in partnering with Emerspace, sponsoring or investing, or even spinning up your own dedicated domain and having your own dedicated Emers chess rooms or event space, please contact us. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to hanging out with you in the metaverse.
This is really fun. I love where you're going with this.
Well, so the idea is that, we started with a chess room and chess games, and then Tiffany asked for an alternative to her performances, and I pitched her on creating a 3D space that is her domain that she could jump in at any time and bring people in for her very exclusive types of performances that she likes to put on. And I think it's just a way to kickstart artists into metaversal spaces and have an easy platform to work with. And right now, Hubs is the base platform, so Spoke is really cool. And if you understand the Gltf pipeline and understand how to just lay out spaces, it's pretty quick and easy to learn it. And I've seen some pretty incredible places out there, but people don't have necessarily their own agency over it because it's either on Mozilla Hub's cloud or you have these other networks that are tied to bigger companies. Offering this up to artists and to companies, I think, is a really cool way. And then having them all connected into the Federated network really helps with the social connectivity across the entire web and the entire metaverse ecosystem.
And I just want to thank all of you who are sending in fantastic comments and questions. And thank you for the heads up, by the way, on closed captions and accessibility as well. And absolutely agree. We will be striving to improve closed captions, including putting future events like this on other channels like our YouTube channel. Unfortunately, we could not get that enabled in time for tonight. And so we will get to those requests. And thank you for all of you. Dulce, I want to say you have always been one of those people who stands up for the people in the room who are not being heard, but also for the people who are not in the room. And I'm just so grateful that you have been creating spaces for people to interact with amazing artists like Tiffany here, or with the Wu-Tang Shaolin space, right? These are inclusive spaces that are inviting participation and play, that I think really bridges a digital divide that other metaverse spaces aren't necessarily reaching. So thank you, number one, for that work. But
cool.
Yeah, I mean, you have really focused on the open web. Do you want to speak a little bit to, why WebXR and why you chose to work with Immerspace and Tiffany as part of that development?
Well, Emmerspace is a love work project for Will, Quinn, and myself. So everything we do is pretty much just like out of the love of ourselves to do it, to build on the platform and to expand its accessibility to people and the ability to interact in different ways. And I've spent the last year working on projects for clients with the Hubs platform as well. And I created one for a pretty large event client out of Singapore. And we held many events in the space, and we created a treasure hunt, and we had live streaming interaction between the avatar and the live speaker. It's just really cool that you could set up this room quite easily with the understanding of just laying things out and how Free.js fundamentally works. You could really set up something very interesting in the space that's interactive, that it doesn't come out of the box with vanilla hubs. So Emmerspace understands that, and we've been collecting these interactive features and have been adding them to the base inventory of the code base of Emmerspace, and we can pull things out based on people's needs as well. So like, for instance, Tiffany's event space doesn't necessarily need a kind of an anonymous login system that some people want for a social space where they just want to chat and hang out with their friends. So, adding some sort of ticketing system or adding some sort of marketing capture is being considered for Tiffany. So those are her needs, right? But yet other people don't necessarily want that. They want to have an encrypted experience and not be known for who they really are, just be an anonymous avatar coming from an anonymous place.
Right.
And we offer that as well. So, it's just based on what people's needs are.
There's so many interesting experiments happening in this space, and I've been so excited to watch how you and Will and the team have really taken that grant from the web and really taken it to build a whole series of worlds and community experiences that I think could really be great for students, for young people, not just for hardcore gamers or the sort of VR XR folks as well. So
Okay.
Dulce, thank you so much for making time to be with us. And I'm going to be bringing in Robert as well. Robert. And
Hey.
I'm going to bring your screen share in shortly because you are our next demo. And Dulce, thank you. I'm going to bring you back into the stream at the end of the hour if you're available to stay with us for a few more questions. We're going to have a few more minutes at the very end to be in conversation together. And Robert, my co-chair at OMI, at Open Metaverse Interoperability, is going to share with us a much awaited demo that I am excited to see. So, Robert, I'm going to hop out of here and let you take it away.
Perfect. Thanks so much. So yeah, like Kiva said, my name's Robert. I'm one of the co-chairs of the OMI group. In the past, I worked at Altspace and Hubs, and now I work at Element, working on the Matrix protocol and getting voice and video into Element. So this is third room, which is my experiment in designing a decentralized browser-based Metaverse client. It's kind of my side project. It's a test bed for doing a lot of OMI experiments, and it's a project that I want to open source and give out to people so that they can start doing their own experiments. What is it actually? It's a decentralized 3D communication app, and you can access it in your web browser. And right now it's pretty primitive. You can create and join 3D rooms, which I'll show how that works in a bit. You can talk to each other with voice chat, and you embody an avatar. You can change the scene in your avatar, and it'll be reflected in the different rooms, and you can navigate to other rooms with links. So it's built as a single page web app with Matrix, React, 3JS, and a new library called BitECS that came out of another community that I've been working with called the WebECS community. I can share a link in the Twitch chat afterwards for that. But it's really great library. Highly recommend checking it out if you're trying to do larger 3JS apps and you want to keep your performance really good. So the focus of this project is on performance, simplicity, and extensibility. I really want to make sure that you can experience some pretty cool looking things, especially with WebGPU coming out fairly soon. I want to keep it simple because I want you to be able to hack on it. Everyone should be able to like fork it and make it their own. And it needs to be extensible so that you can go and add a bunch of features to it. And then I'm using Matrix for the whole backend. There's no other backend for this thing. It's just a single page web app, and then everything else is served up by Matrix. So Matrix is an open standard for secure, decentralized, real-time communication. It's a chat API, but you can use it for all sorts of different types of chat. You can do text messaging, you can send files, you can do voice and video. You can host like Slack-like communication rooms, or you can build out anything you want. It's in use by the French government. A lot of like private sector organizations really use this, including and some private companies like Mozilla uses it, and a whole bunch of other people. So the Matrix standard is maintained by the Matrix Foundation, and then Element is a for-profit company that makes the products for Matrix, or some one set of products for it, I should say. There's a lot of different Matrix clients out there built by all sorts of different groups with different open source licenses and all that. So you can go and find something written in Rust or something written in JavaScript, or yeah, a bunch of different servers, all that. It's an open protocol, so you can kind of do with it what you want. And a disclosure, like I said, I recently took a job at Element working on the VoIP team. So I work on voice and video stuff for Element right now. So what makes Matrix decentralized? So you mostly hear of decentralization when we're talking about cryptocurrency, or I don't know, a lot of different things, but this one uses a federated model for decentralization. Just like Dulce was talking about with ActivityPub, you can host servers. Anyone can host servers, and then the servers communicate with each other, and you communicate with your own home server. So I can host a home server like Third Room IO or Robert Long Me, and those servers will then communicate with each other and share messages to build consensus, basically. So yeah, you communicate with your home server, your data gets stored on your home server, and then based on the privacy rules and all that you've set up, it can share with other home servers. Okay, so here I'm going to show my demo. So to start off, I have a scene here which I've exported from Spoke. It's just a GLB file. This is a scene created by Christian on the Hubs team, and it's licensed with the Creative Commons license. I pulled in here. I've got a avatar in here created by Rhiannon Barry. On the other screen, I have an avatar from Ready Player Me. And yeah, I'm moving around on two different browser windows, and all of the messages are being sent over WebRTC. That was a WebRTC data channel that was established through Matrix. And actually, if you could do audio sharing in here, you would hear spatial audio coming out of each avatar. And that's also established by Matrix. Now, another really, really important part of this is if you look at the URL bar, these are on two different domains. So I'm hosting one at vrdance.party and another one at Third Room IO, but they're communicating with each other, and they're loading assets from one of these servers. So these the assets are not hosted on both servers. They're being proxied through the home server coming to you, and you can download it and view all the content, as well as like avatars. Avatars are associated with your user and can be shared with other people in the room. One last feature that I'll show off here is you can go and this is my a test asset, but if I go and click on this, let me get that. Oh, there we go. You can follow links. And so here I am in a second room, also created by the Hubs team and exported out of Spoke. And if I go and add another user to it, you should see them in that room as well. There we go. There's another one. So, and then I can go back to the original room by going on here. I've basically built a web ring. So yeah, that is the basic part of this demo. Let me back out and I'll go back to my slides really quick. All right. So what can we expect in the future? I built this in a couple weeks, honestly. It wasn't too hard, surprisingly. A lot of things have improved in the last couple of years in the 3GS community, in the Gltf community, and then Matrix really has provided a whole bunch of the hard parts of creating a virtual world client, a social 3D client. So what I want to do next is continue working on this and make it easy to use and look good. Here are some like concept, some vision work for what a future of the client might look like with your friends list and recent rooms that you visited, being able to change your avatar. There you got another Ready Player Me avatar. There we go. And I want to figure out like, how does the Matrix ecosystem really fit into here? So Matrix, you can send text messages and video messages. How does 3D and 2D messaging really like fit into each other? Like if I am on my phone, I could probably contact people in the 3D world. How am I displayed to all those different people? How can I use my different devices with their strengths to improve communication? And how do we get this concept of a open standard for a friends list out of Matrix? So that's something I really want to look into. Another thing is this is all done with peer-to-peer networking right now, which is great. It's cool that you can do this without anything more than just a server to set up the connections. But we're in this situation right here, this mesh networking thing. So you're sending around data to everyone in the room, and there's a lot of connections around, and there's a lot of potentials for failures. We could move to something like an MCU, which is mixing audio on a server, but that gets pretty expensive. So you reduce your upload your upload bandwidth and your download bandwidth. Or we could do a selective forwarding unit, SFU, which reduces your upload bandwidth, which is usually, especially if you're on a mobile device, like your weakest connection. And then your download bandwidth doesn't really change, but you should be able to support a lot more users. And we can get a lot more complex with this, like only downloading data from the people right around you, or whatever we decide on doing. So, and you can definitely look out for things in this area coming out of the Matrix community as we like build out voice and video chat for that as well. And then I would really like to start building out some new features. Like we've been talking about a lot of different experiments that we've wanted to do in Ome, like inventory and being able to trade items with each other, or in this case, I have a UI for like buying an item. I'd really like to start experimenting with those sorts of concepts in this thing. And then this is built on top of Matrix, but the and the protocols themselves are all, they don't have to be done inside of a web browser. You could do them inside of a native client. It's using data channels, but we could send messages that can be received by native clients. So I think there's a lot of work that we could do to figure out how to write common networking protocols for native clients.
This is really exciting work, Robert. There's a bunch of questions coming in, and I don't think we can get to most of them right now. We're going to get to some of them later. But first of all, does Third Room have a website yet? This is an early demo for you, right?
It does. You can go check it out. The 2 domains that I used in the demo are available. The UI on it is there's absolutely no CSS on this. I spent all of the time working on the code, not the UI. So that's a next step for me. I'm gonna get a little bit of styling in there before I open source this, but yeah, you can go and check it out. It's thirdroom.io and then vrdance.party. I'll keep it up for a little bit, but
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think
I might nuke your data, so don't put anything special in there.
Be careful, right? Yeah. Experiment zone. Mr. Squarepeg asked if Third Room was based on Chromium, but I think you answered a little bit of that. And then there was a question about building games in Third Room, which it sounds like working with other game engines would be the way that would fit together, correct?
I think so. Right now it's loading up GLTF content, and you can't like sandbox scripts to run on each domain. That would be kind of bad if anyone could just like inject JavaScript into your website and like, I don't know, steal your login information or something like that. So we have to be really careful about how the scripts are done. But we can basically start building standards for behaviors. So if you want triggers, animation triggers in there, then we can build a Gltf extension and you can add triggers to your scene. But we can work as a community, and each server can decide, well, I want to add this feature to my server, and then this server also adds it, and now they can both use that together. So it's not controlled by any one company; it's controlled by the network.
And Robert, are you maintaining a separate Discord for Third Room, or are you taking DMs on that at this time?
Well, in the spirit of Matrix, I have a Matrix room for that, so I'll bring that up now.
Yeah, go ahead and drop that in as well in the chat, and we can take more questions at the end. I'm going to be bringing in our next video from Dr. Kim, and we would love to continue with the questions, and the conversations are going to continue. We have 2 more demos to go. First, we have Dr. Kim Nevelstein, whose work has been really fascinating to discover. I came to it late compared to some of you, but some of his earlier videos I think you've seen on YouTube, where he does direct Minecraft and Doom interoperability experiments. And so Dr. Kim has been doing some very detailed publishing on ipsme. So we're going to watch this video next from Dr. Kim, who is in Europe. So thank you to him for sending us this video. Obviously, we are up a little too late for the European audience tonight, but we'll fix that in the future.
Hi, I'm Kim Nevelstein. I'm going to give you an introduction of ipsme. I'm going to be drawing on my iPad, and the representation might be a little bit simplistic, but I think it'll be good to introduce the concept. If we have a system over here and a system over here, and we have 2 processes running in each system, and this one implements a data representation A, and this implements a data representation B, then if they want to speak to each other, then inside here, there could be a translation from A to B or B to A. If then B updates to B prime, then the component A would have to be shut down and then re-engineered, which requires cost. And then the translation would then have to be done from B prime to A and back. The other option is that we have a system over here and a system over here, and we have a process running on each system. And the standard protocol is protocol A, which both implement. Now, communication is not a problem, but say, for example, that a protocol gets updated to A prime, one of the systems is then updated, requiring re-engineering costs, but the other one is not. Then all of a sudden this system over here is a legacy system. So what does ipsme offer? ipsme is a set of conventions with a super small footprint, making it possible to implement on most systems. Instead of doing translations in process, translations are external to systems being integrated. So that means if we have a system over here, a system over here, and inside here we have a process B, and inside here we have a process A, but we have a pub sub this time, and A is connected to the pub sub. We could have another component here, and that component is then responsible for doing the translation from A to B. So now if B updates to B prime, instead of actually taking down A and re-engineering A, then the translation object could be updated to support B prime, or what could happen is that instead of updating translation, we could add another translation which then does B prime to A to B prime. This route allows for backwards compatibility with any other system that would still be speaking protocol B. Note that we didn't have to take down A in order to add translations. A just keeps running and is oblivious to the fact that we add translations to the system. So what we're doing is we don't want to avoid standards. What we want to do is we want to avoid the need for standards. So for example, if we have a bunch of systems and all these systems speak a protocol A, and we have a number of systems over here, and they speak a different protocol, then the system could have translations from B to A, from F to A, and from G to A. Now, if the protocol A gets updated to A prime, and one of these systems doesn't update, it becomes a legacy system. And it would speak just A. Then a translation would be added to the system from A to A prime, and the system would keep working. So if we have one messaging environment and we have 3 processes on that messaging environment, with 3 different representations, we could have a translation from A to B, and we can have a translation from B to C. But that means we also have a translation from A to C through transitivity. So ipsme allows also the lowering of complexity by reusing translations in the system. That's all I have for you right now. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
All right, so that's Dr. Kim Nevelstein. You can hit him up on Twitter about his work on ipsme, and we hope that you will get in touch with him. He's been a fantastic learning resource and leader within the European interoperability community as well. And next, we are going to be bringing up Nova. So Nova, I believe we have your audio.
Yes, we do, right?
All right, we do. I hear you. So we are next going to see Nova. I'm sorry, their Twitter handle is Technobabu. Did I get that correct? Technobabu there. Okay. And we're going to bring in your screen share here, and let's see how this rolls. So I'm going to let you take it away, and then we'll jump in at the end for questions.
Right. So my whole project that I'm working on is specifically trying to create a communication channel for applications and platforms to talk to each other that is 100% on device. It doesn't need to bounce off of a web server. Why not web servers? Well, it can cause a heck of a lot of security issues, privacy issues, because you are sending your stuff to a third party that you have to independently audit. And it also causes reliability issues because, well, the internet requires a bunch of routers. So, the more connections you add, the less reliable it is. Bring up the first slide, first image. So this is currently what we have to deal with when you're dealing with on-device local stuff or bouncing off of web servers. You basically have to create one connection between two particular applications directly, though, for most cases, right? Second, so then we have an alternative. And the alternative that I am choosing to use, and I think is a really good option, is called Dbus. Dbus is deliberately made so that multiple different applications can talk amongst each other, though, with a minimal amount of connections, though, right? So they're all effectively in the exact same space. So let me just show you, remove the images. So this is the Dbus Inspector. It's called Defeat, right? This is just one of the possible ones. And as you can see, over here I have a list of connection names, right? So I can see a bunch of different applications that are all broadcasting their connections through Dbus, right? Then in here I have certain objects, and inside of those objects I have interfaces, though. So, for example, if I want to launch Fractal, I can go, and this is the manual method, there are automatic ways, to org gnome Fractal or GTK application, and then I can just pass in to activate. Oh, hey, look, it's the matrix group. So, yeah. And so that's the basics of how this works, though. You can pass things in, you can get things back. There's publishing, subscribing through the signals and the method calls. Right. So let's show a practical example of this working. So here I have Minecraft open. The reason why I chose Minecraft is because it's basically the #1 most hackable platform that you can possibly get now, and it works on virtually everything, at least the Java edition. So I have another application, completely separate, called the Ome Controller. This is meant to be sort of a stand-in for another social app or such, or possibly a service, right? So as you can see, I'm not in the world right now. I have a UUID, sorry, a URI right here that identifies a particular server, dimension inside of that server, and block coordinates. So what I can do is I can press go to URI, and then, oops, I turned on debugging. Sort of worked on this till the last minute. So now it'll join the world, and then instantaneously, here I am inside of Minecraft, though. So, well, what if I want to go to a different place? Well, what I can do is I can just type in. This doesn't have copy and paste yet. It's pretty new. Right? And then I can just click go to URI. And now I just teleported within the world right here. So very simple method to talk between apps. So what else can this do? Well, what I can do is I can get the current world URI, which will then instantaneously update with the proper block coordinates and dimension coordinates and such. And using a separate service called MC Skin service that I just created, right? Which I'll show you. I'll show you this, right? I can then get the avatar that I'm currently using, because Minecraft spits it out as a skin texture, which is just a PNG, the service then converts it to a GLTF file and then shows it on here. So that's a general overview. This can be used for many things, all the way from getting avatars across worlds, decentralized wallets, trying to check if you have access to a particular asset, and so on. There's a ton of things you can do. So yeah, thank you.
All right, Nova, this is fantastic. And I just want to say we're getting fantastic comments coming in, not just on the front channels, but also on the back channels of folks who are just really excited to see your work. So thank you. I don't know how many other questions we have, but I'm going to be bringing in Jesse, Mr. Metaverse, shortly, along with Robert, our amazing co-chairs and co-hosts here. So if Robert and Jesse want to go ahead and unmute as well, I'm going to be bringing in some of our other speakers as well. And this has been such a blast to see your work. So I hope that all of you who are holding on to questions, if you want to drop them in, I'm going to bring a few of those in because we have just a few more minutes together. Jin, I'm going to bring you in on our side channel here, and then Nova and Dulce, I believe we have your audio. So we have had such a fun time exploring some of these ideas together. But I wanted to kind of explore how all of this fits together, because interoperability is a huge concept, and we've been throwing out jargon and terms that maybe aren't super familiar to people. So let's take a step back really fast here. And I'm wondering, Robert, Jesse, Jin, Nova, Dulce, if you could talk a little bit about what things like, what is a URI and how does that fit together with some of these experiments around addressability of assets or addressability of worlds?
Mind if I start?
Yeah, go for it.
So I'll just sort of weave this into an actual practical narrative. So say you want to talk to your friend in 2 different social platforms though, right? What you might do is you might just use something like Matrix over here to initially send them a link. So say I want to send my friend one of these, because we want to talk in Minecraft though, right? So the idea is you'd be able to literally just paste that straight in there though. Somebody would click the link, and then they would instantly get teleported to that particular location in Minecraft, just as I showed here with the manual thing. Then what you could do is, if you didn't like that platform, you could just send them a link in that chat, and you'd be able to hop over to a different platform. Now, that particular link to Minecraft is specifically a URI, Universal Resource Identifier, right? It is not a URL specifically because it is 100% meant for Minecraft. It's platform specific.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So that's what URIs are. The idea is that Dbus or something similar would be the actual way that your chat apps could communicate, and you could literally, ping between different virtual worlds. You could have like a seamless handoff, right? The VRM stuff that Jin has been doing is incredibly useful to make sure that you are always represented the same, or at least similar, amongst different virtual worlds. So just as I showed here, you can easily just one click, get avatar. And there's possibly a button that you could press inside of Minecraft or such that would then take your avatar or your skin in there and blast it to every other compatible app. So that instantaneously, if you find a skin you like in one platform, it's there everywhere, right? Weave that into something like Immerspace, which is a great tool for, having different content moderation on certain home servers, and then being able to talk amongst them. It means you could build your community, but then you can also talk to other communities without having to switch platforms constantly, though. So
makes a lot of sense, and I'm really excited. Dulce, I heard you unmute.
I'm just mind blown by what Nova's made here. This is pretty inspiring. I mean, the peer-to-peer aspect of it is just incredible, and the fact that you're able to jump in to these spaces just with that uniform resource locator or identifier or whatever it may be,
I did kind of cheat because this thing is directly hooked up to Minecraft. However, with a little bit more work, not too much more, we could actually register it to the system and make it to where if you click it in a web browser, it'll pop up in Minecraft or such.
Nice. Yeah, it's really cool.
And I gotta say, there are a lot of ways this will tie in, and people have been asking about portals between worlds and previews of portals, and being able to have that sense of connectedness no matter what
the key with that is that you have to have a protocol or a standard set of protocols through ipsme in order to get them to talk. But this is just a method in order to be able to open up the communication channel at the beginning. So really, this is only just a fraction of the stuff you can do.
Well, I just want to say I hang out in some of these NFT rooms and groups on Facebook and Clubhouse and such, and one of the main things that these artists are dying for is to have spaces that can communicate with each other in this way, or be able to easily have this peer-to-peer connectivity with their NFT collections or their NFT interactive spaces that are being created, with different decentralized worlds and lands around an NFT, which they're just like popping up everywhere. So this would be great for that.
There are so many interesting ways these things can be tied together, and we're going to be wrapping up in the next few minutes, but I want to encourage all of you to put in whatever calls for participation or calls for collaboration that you are currently inviting from our community here.
Yeah, if you're looking to get involved in on the technical side, we've got the Gltf Extensions subgroup that we're working on an audio emitter spec right now. If you are a Unity or Unreal or Godot developer and you know a lot about game audio, you should come. Like, we really need your help. We're working on a whole bunch of new extensions after that. This is our first one. We're nearly done there, and we'll move on to a lot more things there. We've got the website. Jesse is one of the people on that team. So if you're a web developer or web designer, we could really use your help on our website. And we're also working on a Discord bot right now. And then, of course, if you have a standard that you'd like to propose, if you're using something in your own platform and want to reach out to other people in the community, you can definitely come to our meetings, let us know what you're working on, and we can help spread the word and help facilitate getting people working together.
And Jesse, do you want to tell us a little bit more about what's happening with that POAP, please? Because I think there's some questions around how we participate and get involved.
Yeah. So Jen and I ran into some technical difficulties, but the spirits are still up. The POAP is, I still want to say POAP, is minted. It does exist. And so we're just going to manually send them out. We'll get our act together before the next one. But in order to claim yours, we encourage you to join our Discord if you're not already in there. I see a lot of familiar names, so I think a lot of you are probably already in the Angel and OMI Discord. And just pop into the OMI Community Development channel. This is where we talk about projects like this, and just drop in the word teamwork. Drop in the word teamwork, and we will be able to very easily find you, and we'll ensure that you get sent your POAP for today's event. If it's too confusing, if you can't find the channel or anything like that, reach out to me, Evo, or Robert. We'll point you in the right direction.
Right. So I think someone mentioned earlier our new website. I'm going to go ahead and add that to the stream again in case some of you didn't see that. That is at omigroup.org. You are absolutely welcome to participate there on Discord. hop in. Our Wednesday morning 9 a.m. PST meetings are welcome to you, but there are also lots of opportunities to spin up new projects or jump in on projects that are already existing. Nova, you had a call for participation for some of the things you've been working on. Is that correct?
Yeah. So, I really appreciate this project is going to be part of something called Constellation, right? So Constellation is basically a way to get different applications to not only collaborate together, but also a way to effectively make it to where they're like a one-click, quote-unquote, they're like a combination of App Store apps and web apps, though. They're both native and web technologies. You can install them from an app store, or you can go to them and install them like PWAs. The idea is that we want everybody to get all of the content in a nice, private, secure fashion. So that's Ome-Constellation in the Discord server. And then for myself, I'm working on a project called Stardust XR, which is a display server, aka system UI, for extended reality devices, though. That is going to be a heck of a lot more modular, accessible, and also transparent than anything before. So just go to stardustxr.org if you're interested.
And that's you love working with folks who are interested in Linux development as well. So if folks are interested in the combination of Metaverse and Linux development.
I mean, I'm using EndeavourOS right now. I'm using Dbus and I'm making a Linux display server, so you can tell I love it.
There's a lot of experimentation happening in our community here, and I just want to honor how much of that is happening from those core values that we started with. And I'm just going to reiterate those one more time. We collaborate, driven by research, privacy, accessibility, to make the metaverse more human. And we're constantly improving on these things, so please, we encourage you to keep helping us improve all the way across the board, whether that's accessibility, closed captioning, haptics, working on how these things work across devices. We're interested in those explorations. We work incrementally I'm going to say that again. We work incrementally, iteratively, and with intent. All right. And we are creating a cooperative, sustainable culture of innovation. And this is part of our community commitment to each other as collaborators. We empower the people making the metaverse. And that includes all of you and all of the demos we've seen today. But there are many more. And obviously, we are planning lots more events, including hack days and participation in hack events and barn raising, in lightning talks, and also in demos. And finally, we cultivate resiliency by championing, let's say that one more time, diversity and freedom of choice. And so we encourage all of you to keep experimenting and keep trying out new things and bringing them to the table. Yes, we don't know what we don't know. So please, we encourage you to go ahead and push back and tell us where you think we can do it better, and maybe the types of things that you want to partner with us on, because we are wide open to those kinds of independent collaborations and partnerships. So anything else y'all want to add today from all of us at OMI?
If you see a way to get involved, please. We're an open community. I think it can be a little scary sometimes when you see a group that's working on something you really care about. Like 3JS is a perfect one. Maybe some of you have contributed, but maybe many of you haven't. It might feel like scary getting involved, or you might not know how to get involved. OMI has not been around that long. Like, it's our doors open, and again, your input could make a real difference. So please tell other folks as well that believe in the open metaverse to hop in.
And together, we're going to figure out how to create these future protocols and communication layers together.
That's right. And also, it's a balance too. So don't feel like if you're representing a business, or if you're a solo dev, or if you are a designer and don't know anything about code, but you can design entire design systems, there's a place for every one of those people. It's a balance between the business needs, the users needs, and of course what the developers need. So we need that conversation to be diverse if we want to actually achieve that goal of resiliency.
Well, I'm excited to see all of the things that you come up with for future events. And thank you to Dulce, to Nova, to Jen, to Dr. Kim all the way across the pond, and obviously Jesse and Robert, my co-chairs here. Thank you for making time to help our community grow and invite new forms of participation.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, super excited.
Absolutely. So we're going to wrap this stream, and thank you all for joining us. If you have ideas for future events, I'm going to just go ahead and let most of our folks go here. If you have ideas for future events and things that you would like to participate on with us, I hope that you're going to reach out. We are at Open Metaverse, and I think most of you have found us now, whether that's on Twitch or Twitter. Our YouTube as well will be up and live soon, and we encourage you just to go ahead and reach out if you have other types of events that you want to work with us on. And so from all of us at Open Metaverse let's say that one more time. Open Metaverse Interoperability. I'm Ivo Haining, and it's a pleasure to be here with you, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.